Chapter 5 of Our Vanishing Wildlife. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Roger Moline. Our Vanishing Wildlife by William T. Hornaday. Chapter 5. The Extermination of Species, State by State. Early in 1912, I addressed to about 250 persons throughout the United States 3 questions, as follows. 1. What species of birds have become totally extinct in your state? 2. What species of birds and mammals are threatened with early extinction? 3. What species of mammals have been exterminated throughout your state? These queries were addressed to persons whose tastes and observations rendered them especially qualified to furnish the information desired. The interest shown in the inquiry was highly gratifying. The best of the information given is summarized below, but this tabulation also includes much information acquired from other sources. The general summary of the subject will, I am sure, convince all thoughtful persons that the present condition of the best wildlife of the nation is indeed very grave. This list is not submitted as representing prolonged research or absolute perfection, but it is sufficient to point 48 morals. Birds and mammals that have been totally exterminated in various states and provinces. Alabama: passenger pigeon, Carolina parakeet, puma, elk, gray wolf, beaver. Arizona: Ridgway's quail, Colinus ridgwayi. Arizona elk, Cervus merriami. Bison. Arkansas: passenger pigeon, Carolina parakeet, whooping crane, bison, elk, beaver. California: no birds totally extinct, but several nearly so. Grizzly bear, elephant seal. Colorado: Carolina parakeet, whooping crane, bison. Connecticut: passenger pigeon, Eskimo curlew, great auk, Labrador duck, upland plover, heath hen, wild turkey. Puma, gray wolf, Canada lynx, black bear, elk. Delaware: wild turkey, ruffed grouse, passenger pigeon, heath hen, dickcissel, whooping crane, Carolina parakeet, white-tailed deer, black bear, gray wolf, beaver, Canada lynx, puma. Florida: flamingo, roseate spoonbill, scarlet ibis, Carolina parakeet, passenger pigeon. Georgia: passenger pigeon, Carolina parakeet, whooping crane, trumpeter swan, bison, elk, beaver, gray wolf, puma. Last 3, Craig D. Arnold. Idaho: wood duck, long-billed curlew, whooping crane, bison. Dr. C.S. Moody. Illinois: passenger pigeon, whooping crane, Carolina parakeet, trumpeter swan, snowy egret, Eskimo curlew. Bison, elk, white-tailed deer, black bear, puma, Canada lynx. Indiana: passenger pigeon, whooping crane, northern raven, wild turkey, ivory-billed woodpecker, Carolina parakeet, trumpeter swan, snowy egret, Eskimo curlew. Bison, elk, white-tailed deer, black bear, Canada lynx, beaver, porcupine. Amos W. Butler. Iowa: wild turkey, Eskimo curlew, whooping crane, trumpeter swan, white pelican, passenger pigeon. Bison, elk, antelope, white-tailed deer, black bear, puma, Canada lynx, gray wolf, beaver, porcupine. Kansas: American scaup duck, woodcock, ruffed grouse, wild turkey, pileated woodpecker, parakeet, white-necked raven, American raven, all Professor L.L. Dyche. Golden plover, Eskimo curlew, Hudsonian curlew, wood duck, C.H. Smith and James Howard, Wichita. Bison, elk, mule deer, white-tailed deer, gray wolf, beaver, otter, lynx, LLD. Reports as complete and thorough as these for other localities no doubt would show lists equally long for several other states. WTH. Kentucky: passenger pigeon, parakeet, bison, elk, puma, beaver, gray wolf. Louisiana: passenger pigeon, Carolina parakeet, Eskimo curlew, flamingo, scarlet ibis, roseate spoonbill, bison, ocelot. Maine: great auk, Labrador duck, Eskimo curlew, oyster catcher, wild turkey, heath hen, passenger pigeon, puma, gray wolf, wolverine, caribou. All Arthur H. Norton, Portland. Maryland: sandhill crane, parakeet, passenger pigeon, bison, elk, beaver, gray wolf, puma, porcupine. Massachusetts: wild turkey, passenger pigeon, Labrador duck, whooping crane, sandhill crane, black-throated bunting, great auk, Eskimo curlew. William Brewster, W.P. Wharton. Canada lynx, gray wolf, black bear, moose, elk. Michigan: passenger pigeon, wild turkey, sandhill crane, whooping crane, bison, elk, wolverine. Minnesota: whooping crane, white pelican, trumpeter swan, passenger pigeon, bison, elk, mule deer, antelope. A strange condition exists in Minnesota, as will be seen by reference to the next list of states. A great many species are on the road to speedy extermination, but as yet the number of those that have become totally extinct, up to date, is small. Mississippi: parakeet, passenger pigeon, bison. Data incomplete. Missouri: parakeet, ivory-billed woodpecker, passenger pigeon, whooping crane, pinnated grouse, bison, elk, beaver. Montana: although many Montana birds are on the verge of extinction, the only species that we are sure have totally vanished are the passenger pigeon and the whooping crane. Mammals extinct: bison. Nebraska: curlew, wild turkey, parakeet, passenger pigeon, whooping crane, and no doubt all the other species that have disappeared from Kansas. Mammals: bison, antelope, elk, and mule deer. Nevada: by a rather odd combination of causes and effects, Nevada retains representatives of nearly all her original outfit of bird and mammal species except the bison and elk, but several of them will shortly become extinct. New Hampshire: wild turkey, heath hen, pigeon, whooping crane, Eskimo curlew, upland plover, Labrador duck, woodland caribou, moose. New Jersey: heath hen, wild turkey, pigeon, parakeet, Eskimo curlew, Labrador duck, snowy egret, whooping crane, sandhill crane, trumpeter swan, pileated woodpecker, gray wolf, black bear, beaver, elk, porcupine, puma. New Mexico. Notwithstanding an enormous decrease in the general volume of wildlife in New Mexico, comparatively few species have been totally exterminated. The most important are the bison and Arizona elk. New York. Heath hen, passenger pigeon, wild turkey, great auk, trumpeter swan, Labrador duck, harlequin duck, Eskimo curlew, upland plover, golden plover, whooping crane, sandhill crane, purple martin, pileated woodpecker, moose, caribou, bison, elk, puma, gray wolf, wolverine, marten, fisher, beaver, fox, squirrel, harbor seal. North Carolina. Ivory-billed woodpecker, parakeet, pigeon, roseate spoonbill, long-billed curlew, Numenius americanus, Eskimo curlew, bison, elk, gray wolf, puma, beaver. E. L. Eubank, T. Gilbert Pearson, H. H. and C. S. Brimley. North Dakota. Whooping crane, long-billed curlew, Hudsonian godwit, passenger pigeon, bison, elk, mule deer, mountain sheep. W. B. Bell and Alfred Eastgate. Ohio. Pigeon, wild turkey, pinnated grouse, northern pileated woodpecker, parakeet, white-tailed deer, bison, elk, black bear, puma, gray wolf, beaver, otter, puma, lynx. Oklahoma. Records for birds insufficient. Mammals. Bison, elk, antelope, mule deer, puma, black bear. Oregon. The only species known to have been wholly exterminated during recent times is the California condor and the bison, both of which were rare stragglers into Oregon, but a number of species are now close to extinction. Pennsylvania. Heath hen, pigeon, parakeet, Labrador duck, bison, elk, moose, puma, gray wolf, Canada lynx, wolverine, beaver. Whitmer Stone, Dr. C. B. Penrose, and Arthur Chapman. Rhode Island. Heath hen, passenger pigeon, wild turkey, least tern, eastern willet, Eskimo curlew, marbled godwit, long-billed curlew, Harry S. Hathaway, puma, black bear, gray wolf, beaver, otter, wolverine. South Carolina. Ivory-billed woodpecker, Carolina parakeet, bison, elk, puma, gray wolf, James H. Rice, Jr. South Dakota. Whooping crane, trumpeter swan, pigeon, long-billed curlew, bison, elk, mule deer, mountain sheep. Tennessee. Records insufficient. Texas. Wild turkey, passenger pigeon, ivory-billed woodpecker, flamingo, roseate spoonbill, American egret, whooping crane, wood duck, bison, elk, mountain sheep, antelope. A small, dark deer that lived 40 years ago. Captain M. B. Davis. Utah. Records insufficient. Virginia. Records insufficient. Washington. Very few species have become totally extinct, but a number are on the verge and will be named in the next state schedule. West Virginia. Pigeon, parakeet, bison, elk, beaver, puma, gray wolf. Wisconsin. Whooping crane, passenger pigeon, American egret, wild turkey, Carolina parakeet, bison, moose, elk, woodland caribou, puma, wolverine. Wyoming: whooping crane, trumpeter swan, wood duck, mountain goat. Canada: Alberta: passenger pigeon, whooping crane, bison. British Columbia: A. Brian Williams reports, do not know of any birds having become extinct. Manitoba: pigeon, bison, antelope, gray wolf. New Brunswick: pigeon. Nova Scotia: Labrador duck, Eskimo curlew, passenger pigeon. Ontario: wild turkey, pigeon, Eskimo curlew. Prince Edward Island: reported by E.T. Carbonell. Eskimo curlew, horned grebe, ring-billed gull, Caspian tern, passenger pigeon, Wilson's petrel, wood duck, Barrow's golden eye, whistling swan, American eider, white-fronted goose, purple sandpiper, Canada grouse, long-eared owl, screech owl, black-throated bunting, pine warbler, red-necked grebe, purple martin, and catbird. Beaver, black fox, silver gray fox, marten, and black bear. Quebec: pigeon. Saskatchewan: pigeon, bison. Birds and mammals threatened with extinction. The second question submitted in my inquiry produced results even more startling than the first. None of the persons reporting can be regarded as alarmists, but some of the lists of species approaching extinction are appallingly long. To their observations I add other notes and observations of interest at this time. Alabama: wood duck, snowy egret, woodcock. The worst enemy of wildlife is the pot hunter and game hog. These wholesale slaughterers of game resort to any evidence in practice, it matters not how murderous, to accomplish the pernicious ends of their nefarious campaigns of relentless extermination of fur and feather. They cannot be controlled by local laws, for these, after having been tried for several generations, have proven consummate failures, for the reason that local authorities will not enforce the provisions of game and bird protective statutes. Experience has demonstrated the fact that no one desires to inform voluntarily on his neighbors, and since breaking the game law is not construed to involve moral turpitude, even to an infinitesimal degree, by many of our citizens, the plunderers of nature's storehouse thus goes free, it matters not how great the damage done to the people as a whole. John H. Wallace, Jr., Game Commissioner of Alabama. Alaska: thanks to geographic and climatic conditions, the Alaskan game laws, and $15,000 with which to enforce them, the status of the wildlife of Alaska is fairly satisfactory. I think that, at present, no species is in danger of extinction in the near future. When it was pointed out to Congress in 1902 by Madison Grant, T.S. Palmer, and others, that the wildlife of Alaska was seriously threatened, Congress immediately enacted the law that was recommended, and now appropriates yearly a fair sum for its enforcement. I regard the Alaskan situation as being, for so vast and difficult a region, reasonably well in hand, even though open to improvement. There is one fatal defect in our Alaskan game law, in the perpetual and sweeping license to kill that is bestowed upon natives and prospectors. Under cover of this law, the Indians can slaughter game to any extent they choose, and they are great killers. For example, in 1911 at Sand Point, Kenai Peninsula, Frank E. Kleinschmidt saw 82 caribou tongues in the boat of a native that had been brought in for sale at 50 cents, while the carcasses were left where they fell to poison the air of Alaska. Thanks to the game law and 5 wardens, the number of big game animals killed last year in Alaska by sportsmen was reasonably small, just as it should have been. W.T.H. Arizona: during an overland trip made by Dr. McDougall and others in 1907 from Tucson to Sonoyta on the international boundary, 150 miles and back again, we saw not one antelope or deer. WTH. California. Swan, white heron, bronze ibis. California valley quail are getting very scarce, and unless adequate protection is afforded them shortly, they will be found hereafter only in remote districts. Ducks also are decreasing rapidly. H. W. Keller, Los Angeles. Sage grouse and Columbian sharp-tailed grouse are so nearly extinct that it may practically be said that they are extinct. Among species likely to be exterminated in the near future are the wood duck and the band-tailed pigeon. W. P. Taylor, Berkeley. Colorado. Sage grouse and sharp-tailed grouse, nearly all the shorebirds. Connecticut. All the shorebirds. Quail, purple martin. Delaware. Wood duck, upland plover, least tern, Wilson tern, roseate tern, black skimmer, oystercatcher, and numerous other littoral species. Pileated woodpeckers, bald eagles, and all the ducks are much more rare than formerly. Swan are about gone, geese scarce. The list of ducks, geese, and shorebirds, as well as of terns and gulls that are nearing extinction, is appalling. C. J. Pennock, Wilmington. Wood duck, woodcock, turtle dove, and bobwhite. A. R. Spade, Wilmington. Florida. Limpkin, ivory-billed woodpecker, wild turkey. Georgia. Ruffed grouse, wild turkey. Idaho. Harlequin duck, mountain plover, dusky grouse, Columbian sharp-tailed grouse, sage grouse. Elk, goats, and grizzly bears are becoming very scarce. Of the smaller animals I have not seen a fisher for years, and marten are hardly to be found. The same is true of other species. Dr. Charles S. Moody, Sandpoint. Illinois. Pinnated grouse, except where rigidly protected. In Vermilion County, by long and persistent protection, Harvey J. Sconce has bred back upon his farm about 400 of these birds. Indiana. Pileated woodpecker, woodcock, ruffed grouse, pigeon hawk, duck hawk. Amos W. Butler, Indianapolis. In northern and northwestern Indiana, a perpetual close season and a rigid protection have enabled the almost extinct pinnated grouse to breed, up to a total number now estimated by Game Commissioner Miles and his wardens at 10,000 birds. This is a gratifying illustration of what can be done in bringing back an almost vanished species. The good example of Indiana should be followed by every state that still possesses a remnant of prairie chickens or other grouse. Iowa. Pinnated grouse, wood duck. Notwithstanding an invasion of Jasper County, Iowa, in the winter of 1911 and 12 by hundreds of pinnated grouse, such as had not been known in 20 years, this gives no ground to hope that the future of the species is worth a moment's purchase. The winter migration came from the Dakotas, and was believed to be due to the extra severe winter and the scarcity of food. Commenting on this unprecedented occurrence, J. L. Slonaker, in the Wilson Bulletin, No. 78, says, "In the opinion of many, the formerly abundant prairie chicken is doomed to early extinction. Many will testify to their abundance in those years (in South Dakota, 1902) when the great land movement was taking place. The influx of hungry settlers, together with an occasional bad season, decimated their ranks. They were eaten by the farmers, both in and out of season, driven from pillar to post, with no friends and insufficient food. What else then can be expected?" Mr. F. C. Pellet, of Atlantic, Iowa, says, "Unless ways can be devised of rearing these birds in the domestic state, The prairie hen, in my opinion, is doomed to early extinction. The older inhabitants here say that there is not one songbird in summer where there used to be 10. G.H. Nickel in Outdoor Life, March, 1912. Kansas. To all of those named in my previous list that are not actually extinct, I might add the prairie hen, the lesser prairie hen, as well as the prairie sharp-tailed grouse and the wood duck. Such water birds as the avocets, godwits, greater yellowlegs, long-billed curlew, and Eskimo curlew are becoming very rare. All the water birds that are killed as game birds have been greatly reduced in numbers during the past 25 years. I have not seen a wood duck in 5 years. The prairie chicken has entirely disappeared from this locality. A few are still seen in the sandhills of western Kansas, and they are still comparatively abundant along the extreme southwestern line and in northern Oklahoma and the Texas Panhandle. C. H. Smith, Wichita. Yellow-legged plover, golden plover, Hudsonian and Eskimo curlew, prairie chicken. James Howard, Wichita. Louisiana. Ivory-billed woodpecker, butterball, bufflehead. The wood duck is greatly diminishing every year, and if not completely protected, 10 years hence no wood duck will be found in Louisiana. Frank M. Miller and G. E. Beyer, New Orleans. Ivory-billed woodpecker, sandhill crane, whooping crane, pinnated grouse, American and snowy egret where unprotected. E. A. McElhenney, Avery Island. Maine. Wood duck, upland plover, purple martin, house wren, pileated woodpecker, bald eagle, yellowlegs, great blue heron, Canada goose, redhead and canvasback duck. John F. Sprague, Dover. Puffin, Leach's petrel, eider duck, laughing gull, great blue heron, fish hawk, and bald eagle. Arthur H. Norton, Portland. Maryland. Curlew, pileated woodpecker, summer duck, snowy heron. No record of sandhill crane for the last 35 years. Greater yellowleg is much scarcer than formerly, also Bartramian sandpiper. The only two birds which show an increase in the past few years are the robin and lesser scaup. General protection of the robin has caused its increase. Stopping of spring shooting in the north has probably caused the increase of the latter. As a general proposition, I think I can say that all birds are becoming scarcer in this state, as we have laws that do not protect, little enforcement of same, no revenue for bird protection, and too little public interest. We are working to change all this, but it comes slowly. The public fails to respond until the birds are most gone, and we have a pretty good lot of game still left. The members of the order Gallinae are only holding their own where privately protected. The members of the plover family and what are known locally as shore birds are still plentiful on the shores of Chincoteague and Assateague, and although they do not breed there as formerly, so far as I know there are no species exterminated. Talbot Denmead, Baltimore. Massachusetts. Wood duck, hooded merganser, blue-winged teal, upland plover, curlew, perhaps already gone, red-tailed hawk, I have not seen one in Middlesex County for several years, great horned owl, almost gone in my county, Middlesex, house wren. The eave swallows and purple martins are fast deserting eastern Massachusetts, and the barn swallows steadily diminishing in numbers. The bald eagle should perhaps be included here. I seldom see or hear of it now. William Brewster, Cambridge. Upland plover, woodcock, wood duck, recent complete protection is helping these somewhat, heath hen, piping plover, golden plover. A good many song and insectivorous birds are apparently decreasing rather rapidly. for instance, the eave swallow. William P. Wharton of Groton. Michigan: wood duck, limicolae, woodcock, sandhill crane. The great whooping crane is not a wild bird, but I think it is now practically extinct. Many of our warblers and songbirds are now exceedingly rare. Ruffed grouse greatly decreased during the past 10 years. W. B. Mershon, Saginaw. Minnesota: the sandhill crane has been killed by sportsmen. I have not seen one in 3 years. Where there were, a few years ago, thousands of blue herons, egrets, wood ducks, redbirds, and Baltimore orioles, all those birds are now almost extinct in this state. They are being killed by Austrians and Italians who slaughter everything that flies or moves. Robins, too, will be a rarity if more severe penalties are not imposed. I have seized 22 robins, 1 pigeon hawk, 1 crested logcock, 4 woodpeckers, and 1 grosbeak in one camp at the Latonia mine, all being prepared for eating. I have also caught them preparing and eating seagulls, terns, blue herons, egret, and even the bittern. I have secured 128 convictions since the 1st of last September. George E. Wood, Game Warden, Hibbing, Minnesota. From Robert Page Lincoln, Minneapolis. Partridge are waning fast, quail gradually becoming extinct, prairie chickens almost extinct. Duck shooting is rare. The gray squirrel is fast becoming extinct in Minnesota. Mink are going fast, and fur-bearing animals generally are becoming extinct. The game is passing so very rapidly that it will soon be a thing of the forgotten past. The quail are suffering most. The falling off is amazing and inconceivable to one who has not looked it up. Duck shooting is rare. The clubs are idle for want of birds. What ducks come down fly high, being harassed coming down from the north. I consider the southern Minnesota country practically cleaned out. Missouri. The birds threatened with extermination are the American woodcock, wood duck, snowy egret, pinnated grouse, wild turkey, ruffed grouse, golden eagle, bald eagle, pileated woodpecker. Montana. Blue grouse, Henry Avar, Helena. Sage grouse, prairie and Columbian sharp-tailed grouse, trumpeter swan, Canada goose, in fact, most of the waterfowl. The sickle-billed curlew, of which there were many a few years ago, is becoming scarce. There are no more golden or black-bellied plover in these parts. Harry P. Stanford, Kalispell. Curlew, Franklin grouse, fool hen, and sage grouse. W. R. Felton, Miles City. Sage grouse. L. A. Huffman, Miles City. Ptarmigan, wood duck, sharp-tailed grouse, sage grouse, fool hen, and plover. All game birds are becoming scarce as the country becomes settled and they are confined to uninhabited regions. Professor M. J. Elrod, Missoula. Nebraska. Grouse, prairie chicken, and quail. H. N. Miller, Lincoln. Whistling swan. Dr. S. G. Town, Omaha. New Hampshire. Wood duck and upland plover. New York. Quail, woodcock, upland plover, golden plover, black-bellied plover, willet, dowitcher, red-breasted sandpiper, long-billed curlew, wood duck, purple martin, red-headed woodpecker, mourning dove, gray squirrel, otter. New Jersey. Ruffed grouse, teal, canvasback, red-head duck, widgeon, and all species of shorebirds, the most noticeable being black-bellied plover, dowitcher, golden plover, killdeer, sickle-bill curlew, upland plover, and English snipe. Also the mourning dove. James M. Stratton and Ernest Napier, Trenton. Upland plover, apparently killdeer, egret, wood duck, woodcock, and probably others. B.S. Bowdish, Demarest. North Carolina: Forster's tern, oystercatcher, egret, and snowy egret. T. Gilbert Pearson, Secretary, National Association Audubon Societies. Ruffed grouse rapidly disappearing, bobwhite becoming scarce. E. L. Eubank, Hendersonville. Perhaps American and snowy egret. If long-billed curlew is not extinct, it seems due to become so. No definite, reliable record of it later than 1885. H. H. Brimley, Raleigh. North Dakota: wood duck, prairie hen, upland plover, sharp-billed grouse, canvasback, pinnated and ruffed grouse, double-crested cormorant, blue heron, long-billed curlew, whooping crane, and white pelican. W. B. Bell, Agricultural College. Upland plover, marbled godwit, Baird's sparrow, chestnut-collared longspur. Alfred Eastgate, Tolna. Ohio: white heron, pileated woodpecker, if not already extinct. White heron reported a number of times last year, occurrences in Sandusky, Huron, Ashtabula, and several other counties during 1911. These birds would doubtless rapidly recruit under a proper federal law. Paul North, Cleveland. Turtle dove, quail, redbird, wren, hummingbird, wild canary, goldfinch, and bluebird. Walter C. Staley, Dayton. Oklahoma: pinnated grouse. J. C. Clark. Otter, kit fox, black-footed ferret. G. W. Stevens. Oregon: American egret, snowy egret. W. L. Finley, Portland. Pennsylvania: Virginia partridge and woodcock. Arthur Chapman. Wood duck, least bittern, phalarope, woodcock, duckhawk, and barn swallow. Dr. Charles B. Penrose. Wild turkey, also various transient and straggling water birds. Whitmer Stone. Rhode Island: wood duck, knot, greater yellowlegs, upland plover, golden plover, piping plover, great horned owl. Harry S. Hathaway, South Auburn. South Carolina: wood duck, abundant 6 years ago, now almost gone. Wild turkey, abundant up to 1898. Woodcock, upland plover, Hudsonian curlew, Carolina rail, Virginia rail, clapper rail, and coot. Black bear verging on extinction, possum dwindling rapidly. James H. Rice, Jr., Somerville. South Dakota: prairie chicken and quail are most likely to become extinct in the near future. W. F. Bancroft, Watertown. Texas: wild turkey and prairie chickens. J. D. Cox, Austin. Plover, all species. Curlew, cardinal, roadrunner, woodcock, wood duck, canvasback, cranes, all the herons, wild turkey, quail, all varieties, prairie chicken, and Texas guan. Captain M. B. Davis, Waco. Curlew, very rare. Plover, very rare. Antelope. Answer applies to the panhandle of Texas. Charles Goodnight. Everything is threatened with extinction save the dove, which is a migrating bird. Antelope nearly all gone. Colonel O. C. Guisaz, San Antonio. Utah: our wild birds are well protected, and there are none that are threatened with extinction. They are increasing. Fred W. Chambers, State Game Warden, Salt Lake City. Vermont. If all states afforded as good protection as does Vermont, none. But migrating birds like woodcock are now threatened. John W. Tilcomb, State Game Warden, Lyndonville. Virginia. Pheasants, ruffed grouse, wild turkey, and other game birds are nearly extinct. A few bears remain, and deer in small numbers in remote sections. In fact, all animals show great reduction in numbers, owing to cutting down forests and constant gunning. L. T. Christian, Richmond. West Virginia. Wood duck, wild turkey, northern raven, Dick Sissel. Rev. Earl A. Brooks, Weston. Wild turkeys are very scarce, also ducks. Doves, once numerous, now almost nil. Eagles, except a few in remote fastnesses. Many native songbirds are retreating before the English sparrow. William Perry Brown, Glenville. Wood duck and wild turkey. J. A. Viskesny, Bellington. Wisconsin. Double-crested cormorant, upland plover, white pelican, long-billed curlew, lesser snow goose, Hudsonian curlew, sandhill crane, golden plover, woodcock, dowitcher, and long-billed duck. Spruce grouse, knot, prairie sharp-tailed grouse, marbled godwit, and bald eagle. All these, formerly abundant, must now be called rare in Wisconsin. Professor George E. Wagner, Madison. Common tern, knot, American white pelican, Hudsonian godwit, trumpeter swan, long-billed curlew, snowy heron, Hudsonian curlew, American avocet, prairie sharp-tailed grouse, dowitcher, passenger pigeon, long-billed dowitcher, and northern hairy woodpecker. Henry L. Ward, Milwaukee Public Museum. Wood duck, ruddy duck, black mallard, grebe or helldiver, tern, and woodcock. Fred Gernhardt, Madison. Wyoming. Sage grouse and sharp-tailed grouse are becoming extinct, both in Wyoming and North Dakota. Sheridan and Johnson counties, Wyoming, have sage grouse protected until 1915. The miners, mostly foreigners, are out after rabbits at all seasons. To them, everything that flies, walks, or swims large enough to be seen is a rabbit. They are even worse than the average sheep herder, as he will seldom kill a bird brooding her young, but to one of those men, a wren or creeper looks like a turkey. Antelope, mountain sheep, and grizzly bears are going fast. The moose season opens in 1915 for a 30 days open season, then close season until 1920. Howard Eaton, Wolf. Sage grouse, blue grouse, curlew, sandhill crane, porcupine practically extinct, wolverine and pine marten nearly all gone. S. N. Leake, Jackson's Hole. Canada. Alberta. Swainson's buzzard and sandhill crane are now practically extinct. Elk and antelope will soon be as extinct as the buffalo. Arthur G. Woolley Dodd, Calgary. British Columbia. Wild fowl are in the greatest danger in the southern part of the province, especially the wood duck. Otherwise, birds are increasing rather than otherwise, especially the small non-game birds. The sea otter is almost extinct. A. Bryan Williams, Provincial Game Warden, Vancouver. Manitoba. Whooping crane, wood duck, and golden plover. Other species begin to show a marked increase due to our stringent protective measures. For example, the pinnated grouse and sharp-tailed grouse are more plentiful than in 15 years. Pronghorned antelope and wolf are threatened with extinction. J. P. Turner, Winnipeg. The game birds indigenous to this province are fairly plentiful. Though the prairie chicken was very scarce some few years ago, these birds have become very plentiful again, owing to the strict enforcement of our present Game Act. The elk are in danger of becoming extinct if they are not stringently guarded. Beaver and otter were almost extinct some few years ago, but are now on the increase, owing to a strict enforcement of the Game Act. Charles Barber, Winnipeg. New Brunswick: partridge, plover, and woodcock. Moose and deer are getting more plentiful every year. W. W. Gerard, St. John. Nova Scotia: the Canada grouse may possibly become extinct in Nova Scotia unless the protection it now enjoys can save it. The American golden plover, which formerly came in immense flocks, is now very rare. Snowflakes are very much less common than formerly, but I think this is because our winters are now usually much less severe. The caribou is almost extinct on the mainland of Nova Scotia, but is still found in North Cape Breton Island. The wolf has become excessively rare, but as it is found in New Brunswick, it may occur here at any time again. The beaver has been threatened with extinction, but since being protected it has multiplied, and is now on a fairly safe footing again. Curator of Museum, Halifax. Ontario: quail are getting scarce. E. Tinsley, Toronto. Wood duck, bobwhite, woodcock, golden plover, Hudsonian curlew, knot, and dowitcher are threatened with extinction. C. W. Nash, Toronto. Prince Edward Island: the species threatened with extinction are the golden plover, American woodcock, pied-billed grebe, red-throated loon, sooty shearwater, gadwall, ruddy duck, black-crowned night heron, Hudsonian godwit, killdeer, northern pileated woodpecker, chimney swift, yellow-bellied flycatcher, red-winged blackbird, pine finch, magnolia warbler, ruby-crowned kinglet. E. T. Carbonell, Charlottetown. In closing the notes of this survey, I repeat my assurance that they are not offered on a basis of infallibility. It would require years of work to obtain answers from 48 states to the 3 questions that I have asked, and could be offered as absolutely exact. All these reports are submitted on the well-recognized court testimony basis, to the best of our knowledge and belief. Gathered as they have been from persons whose knowledge is good, these opinions are therefore valuable, and they furnish excellent indices of wildlife conditions as they exist in 1912 in the various states and provinces of North America north of Mexico. End of Chapter 5. Recording by Roger Moline.